Brenda, how many times have I told you? Cigarettes can kill. Oh, Mrs. Stevens, what did he say? Now, Brenda, I was quite prepared for it, and so should you have been. Come on, blow your nose. No one should mind dying. It's a perfectly natural process. The only thing one should mind is what one's done with one's life. Whether one's used it properly, fulfilled oneself. I've still got time to make a mark. The question is, what mark and where?
There's the man I want.
Oh, Lord, what have I done now, Felix?
You've done very well. That's just the point. I hope you brought your checkbook. Yes, the library. Renovation work. Very expensive, really. Ed? How are you keeping? Very well, thank you, Mr. Marshall. And you? President, you've heard me talk about Michael Nancy.
Oh, yes, indeed. How do you do? I put you next to me, I'm afraid. I hope that won't be too boring. Come along now.
Morse. Yes? Oh, I see, right. How can I help you?
We all take for granted that Oxford is the greatest university in the world. Yeah. Of course, we acknowledge the existence of another place somewhere over in East Anglia. But Cambridge was founded by Oxford men. There is, however, another Cambridge. Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Are you telling me that the college is so broke that it's getting its undergraduates to ring up old members using their Christian names? Because if Lonsdale is reduced to selling itself like double glazing, good night.
It's more and more to Harvard and Yale, Berkeley and Stanford that the great scholars of our time are attracted, because these universities are very rich, and we are relatively very poor. Oxford, in fact, is looking more and more like an ancient down-at-heel uncle, someone in an old and none too clean cardigan whom you ask to Christmas dinner simply for old time's sake. Someone rather like me, in fact.
Oi, where have you been?
Mrs. Stevens, she's not very well.
Bugger, Mrs. Stevens! Where's my tea?
I thought you was going down the canal. Your forget your Macbeth revision. All right. Stand not upon the order of your going, but go at once. Quietly. Quietly, I said. I'm so glad they let you out again, Kevin. I hope you're planning to stay out this time. May we at least have the pleasure of your company until the end of the term?
Have it any time you like.
Kevin, you really are.
Happy birthday. And many more of them. You all right?
Yes, yes. It's just 5E. I find you a bit of a blasted heath, frankly.
Walk you home if you like.
When I need your help, I'll let you know, Kevin. Oh, Brenda, you shouldn't have. But I'm glad you did.
Oh. The happy birthday's not very good, I'm afraid. I gave my wrist a bit of a bang and I couldn't get a really good grip on the bag. Oh, Wish! It was Wish. Oh, I'm sorry.
Let's just enjoy the cake, shall we? Come on, sit down.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Delicious. Now, Brenda, when you say you gave your wrist a bang, what precisely do you mean?
Have we got a name for him?
Yeah, Felix McClaw.
Morning, Doctor.
Morning, Sergeant. Morse here?
Not yet.
Leaving it all to you as usual. Very wise.
Mind the footprints. First door on the right.
Thank you.
Jim, when you finish with that, can you get them searching these shrubs here?
I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do.
Been a sergeant so long, he'll lose heart.
Listen, matey, I'll soon be losing bloody heart myself. I mean, these management consultants they brought in, they're practically teenagers, some of them. They don't know anything about policing. Resource allocation, they say. And downsizing. Downsizing. I've never heard such language in all my life.
They don't want to downsize you, sir, surely.
Here, look at that.
Proposals for the reduction of the ratio of senior to junior rank.
They're doing away with chiefs. That's what it means. Levelling us all down. I told the chief constable that's not why I vote Conservative.
Does it mean he'll be reduced to a plain constable, sir?
It means the last thing I need at the moment is a university murder. Anything to do with dons. They will keep coming up with bright ideas. It means it takes twice as long to clear up and costs twice as much. So get on with it, Morse. Oh, and go easy on forensic. The costs have shot up now they're charging.
And what do I tell Lewis?
Well, tell him I'm very sorry, but for the time being, all promotion's frozen.
Morning, sir. Morning, Lewis. What's all this?
The murderer wore trainers. Walked off leaving a trail of Dr. McClure's blood. I've got some very good prints indoors. Size 10.
Must be a man.
Right himself. We lose him on the gravel out here.
Had a car, I suppose.
Yeah, or a bike. I've got a search going for the weapon.
Very good, Lewis. Who else lives here?
Couple in number 1 were away on holiday. Newlyweds in number 2. They didn't get up until 1 o'clock.
Bliss was it in that dawn to be alive, but to be in bed was very heaven.
Yes, sir. Number 3 was empty. There's There's an unmarried couple in number 4. They were painting the living room with the radio on. And the lady in there, she saw Dr. McClure come in with his Sunday papers around 9:30.
Did she sit there all day?
Yes, sir.
Ah, Morse at last. We'd like to get the body to the lab, please.
Anything I need to know?
Tommy had a haircut. And that tie doesn't go at all with that jacket. You're looking for a knife, 4 to 5 inches long, with a broadish blade, but quite blunt. Look at that laceration. It took more than ordinary force to break the skin here.
A man, then?
What a typically male conclusion.
Come on, you said...
Women can do anything, when we're roused enough.
I'll have no fury, eh?
All right, then, Lewis.
OK, lads, take him away.
Lived alone, did he?
Yes, sir. Divorced, no children. But the lady upstairs says he has a frequent female visitor. Young, comes and goes by taxi. And I found these in his bedside drawer.
Too young for you, Morse.
Who says?
Your doctor.
Cottage cheese and salad. What kind of dinner is that for a working man?
You're not working, no, Ted. You've got to rest.
I'm not stopping here, not if I don't get decent grub.
Well, the doctor said, with your heart like it is.
I know what the bloody doctor said! I've got to get back on the job as soon as possible.
I'll leave you to your dinner, then.
You tell that sister on your way out I want proper tea!
Thank you, Mrs. Stevens.
Well?
Wants to come home?
Of course. He can't bash you about in there. Suffering is supposed to improve people, but it rarely does. Rather the opposite. Whenever my husband thought he was suffering, he'd take it out on me. I'm sure that's why I've got this. Lucky for him he went to New Zealand, or he'd get the back of my hand now.
Mrs. Stevens, No, it's not your business. You...
I'm waiting, Brenda. Come on.
Now, if ever a man deserved full academic honours...
Distinguished ancient historian, I believe. The plague in Athens and its effect on the Peloponnesian War. Absolutely the last word.
Yes, absolutely. No, but Felix's worth to the college, it wasn't just his scholarship, it was keeping all this standing.
And students and dons in it. Books.
Do you know how much academic books cost these days? Not to mention CD-ROMs. No, well, nor did I till I came back here. Now, I spent 20 innocent years in the city, and that's why when the college was looking for a new president to launch a new appeal...
They wanted a man who knew his way to the heart of the big financial institutions.
No, the big institutions have no heart. We depend on our old members. And Felix, everybody loved Felix, all the old students. So when he retired, we brought him straight back here to run the appeal. He wrote to everybody by hand.
Glad to hear he didn't phone them.
Some of the fellows did argue for a telephone campaign, but Felix was dead against. He said it would get people's backs up.
I should think he might very well have been right.
You know, Felix's human skills were... do you know who I mean by Michael Mansell?
Cable television?
Yes, I couldn't get a penny out of him. But Felix cracked him, got him to give us $1 million. We're making him an honorary fellow. Ah, now, there's Felix's scout now. Yes, Mrs. Barnett, and if you'll excuse me, this is Inspector Morse.
Who might the letter K stand for, do you think? Man or woman? Soon find out. 0171, Central London.
Hi, sorry there's no one here.
Woman.
Leave us a message. Why not?
This is Detective Sergeant Lewis, Thames Valley Police. We're wondering if you can help us with one of our inquiries.
It's a terrible thing. Terrible. He was a real gentleman. Always said good morning. Not like some of them.
This was just where he wrote his letters, was it?
Dunno.
He didn't live in college.
Oh, no, not since he retired.
Real ink. Must have been the last man alive. When did he move out?
Oh, last summer, end of the academic year.
And how long had you been looking after him, Mrs. Barnett?
Oh, I never did look after him, not really. I only took over this staircase at the beginning of the autumn term.
So who was here before you?
Well, that was Ted. Ted Brooks. Looked after Dr. McClure for years.
And did he retire with him?
Yes. Well, no, not retire. He went to work at the museum, the Pitt Rivers.
Why did he move?
Well, things have changed, haven't they? Men don't want to go looking after young people these days. And he was very upset, I know that, because there was a bit of a tragedy upstairs. Young man in number 8, he jumped out of the window. Ted said he didn't want to have to deal with anything like that again.
And what was the young man's name?
Rodway. Matthew Rodway.
Still playing Find the Lady?
Found a lady, but she's not at home.
They never are when you want them. But coroner's reports are, I want you to find me the one on Matthew Rodway, last year, student at Wolsey College.
Ted's in the John Radcliffe Hospital. He had a heart attack on Sunday.
Sunday? What time?
3 in the morning, his wife said.
Right. Oh, that rules him out then. But just for the record, what exactly does he do here?
Well, basically, our guards make sure no one steals anything and keep an eye on school parties. They can get a bit rowdy.
Is this stuff valuable?
Some of it, very. But of course, all the most valuable artifacts are checked regularly.
And which are they?
Well, the most popular, the things people most want to pinch, are the shrunken heads.
I know plenty of people with shrunken brains. What sort of references do you require for one of your guards?
The best. In Ted Brooks's case, he came highly recommended by poor Dr. McClure. And as he was a friend of mine...
Ah, you knew him then?
Oh, yes. Such a lovely man.
Drugs! What? Matthew Rodway. He was stuffed full of drugs when he walked out of the window. Coroner said accidental death, but you never know with drugs, do you?
Whether you're coming or going, you mean?
Well, he may have just decided to go out on a high. Like people wash down paracetamol with drink.
Did you say drink, Lewis? I had a word with Chief Superintendent Strange. I'm sorry. It's only for the time being.
Makes you wonder why you bother.
At least you won't be demoted like we're going to be. We'll get you there, don't worry. What the chief wants is a quick, clean solution of this McClure case so that he can boost his clear-up rate.
Does he?
So let's see what we've got so far, all right? Boy jumps out of window full of drugs. Where did he get them? Was it really an accident?
Coroner said.
Coroner wasn't there. Almost at once, Ted Brooks leaves Wolsey College after many years' service. Why? McClure thought a lot of him. recommended him very highly.
Maybe you didn't think so much of him. Wanted to get rid of him.
No animal fats, Mr. Brooks. That's what the dietitian said.
Oi. You tell her from me. Meat. That's what I have for my dinner. Roast meat.
Keep change.
Come on in.
Hello, Kay. I'm Julia Stevens.
Hello.
Your mother and I have something to tell you. Shut the door, Brenda.
Ah, Rodway, yes. A sad case, but you know how it is. You know, 18-year-olds, first time away from home, pressure of work. Do take a seat. It was purely for relaxation to begin with, but then...
Yes. Was Dr. McClure involved?
Oh, no, of course not. Felix? Good heavens.
What about his scout, Ted Brooks?
Did he supply Rodway with the drugs? In which case, why didn't you call in the police?
Well, we were just about to open the appeal. You know, I mean, a death was bad enough. But if it came out that he was getting drugs from his scout, well, you can imagine the effect on the old members.
So you let Brooks get away with it?
Well, we didn't know it was Brooks, you know, not for certain. And, of course, Felix only got in the job at the museum on the condition that he never again had any contact with the students of this college.
And has he had contact?
Oh, no, he wouldn't have dared. We'd have had him in court as soon as you like.
What sort of type is Brooks?
Oh, ordinary, loyal college servant, you know, as we thought.
Popular with the students, no doubt.
Was he a potential murderer?
Oh, God, I hope not. I mean, that would scupper the appeal altogether.
Kevin?
Yes, Mrs. Stevens?
Kevin, I find I require the pleasure of your company. You said I could have it any time I wanted. Well, now I do want. Can you come to my house after school tomorrow? There's something I want you to do for me.
Mr. Brooks discharged himself half an hour ago because there was no sausage and bacon for his breakfast. I tried to keep him in for a few days for observation, but...
You just let him go?
We can't keep people here against their will, Chief Inspector. And since most of our budget now goes on managers, beds are in a very short supply.
No, I hate hospitals. No, thank you. I'll be back to work next week.
Thought I got a bit of time to myself for once, too. Oh.
You go, Bren.
No, I couldn't. Not with you like this.
I don't want you fussing me all the time. Bloody hell. Bren works with this teacher, Mrs. Stevens. Taking her up to Stratford-upon-Avon. What are you going to see, Bren?
Shakespeare. But I'm not going. Not with you like this.
Don't fuss me! Specialist says I'm not to get excited. What with her fussing me all the time?
You were admitted to hospital on Sunday afternoon at... When was it, Lewis?
1:57.
When exactly were you taken ill?
You tell him, Bran.
Well, it was 3:05 in the morning when he woke with this pain in his chest.
That's right. Right here it was. I thought it was indigestion, you know.
He often gets indigestion after he's been down the club. So I got up and fetched him the Rennies and made him a cup of tea. Oh, I forgot the cake.
Not for me, thanks.
What about you, Sergeant?
Yeah, please.
Well, you seemed a bit better after that, didn't you, Ted?
A bit.
But he woke again at 6. So I made him another cup, but that didn't seem to help. And he didn't want no breakfast. I'll just get the cake.
You used to have a good job at Wolsey College, Mr. Brooks.
If you call cleaning up after a bunch of spoiled brats a good job, yes.
In your time there, were you aware of any drugs being used by the students on your staircase?
Nothing to do with me if there was.
Where did they get them, do you suppose?
Sold them to one another, I reckon. Dr. McClure was always on at me about it. Have I seen this? Have I seen that? I told him the only needles I ever saw were sewing needles.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye. It's 1950, please.
Oh, I've just got one of these blenders. A bit pricey, aren't they?
Yes. But if you do a lot of baking, Ted's ever so fond of cakes. And Mrs. Stevens. I bake for her every week, too.
This your daughter?
That's Kay, yes. When she was younger.
Kay? She's still living at home?
Oh, I wish she was. She and Ted, they didn't see eye to eye, so she went to London.
She working?
She's got a very good job. In the travel business. Sorts out problems for foreign businessmen when they come to London. She's doing very well. She's got her own flat in Chelsea. There you are, Sergeant.
All right, darling? You're the wrong side of Oxford for the museum, Mr. Brooks.
Yes, well, I cycle. Or I used to.
Oh, never rains, but it pours. I'm sure it brought on his attack.
Yeah, it may have done.
Only had his bike stolen, didn't he? Saturday night, right outside the club. He had to walk home, didn't you, Ted? I'm sure that's what brought on his attack.
Have you reported the theft?
Give us a chance. I've been busy having a heart attack. Anyway, a stolen bike in Oxford.
All right, thanks very much. You've been very helpful. But you ought to report that bike. Lewis, take down the details, will you?
You make me do that for?
Ted Brooks' bike wasn't stolen. Chucked it in the river, covered in Dr. McClure's blood.
Well, I've no reason to think that. Brooks said he was...
Lewis. He said he had his heart attack at 3 o'clock in the morning. But he didn't show up at the hospital for another 11 hours. Would you wait that long?
They've got one of those pin boards in their kitchen with a picture of their daughter. Looks just like the girl in the photos of Dr. McClure's. And she just happens to be called Kay and works in London, allegedly providing services for foreign businessmen.
That's well done, Lewis.
And they've got a brand new kitchen. How can a cleaner and a security guard afford a brand new kitchen?
Selling drugs to students.
Furthermore, I don't know if you noticed, but Brooks's shoes?
Size 10s, yes. Shall we take Brooks down to the station, question him hard?
May have another attack.
All right, we'll let him sit and stew while we check his alibi. Circulate that description of the bike. If we had the bike and the girl, we must find this girl, Lewis.
I've been leaving messages for you, Sergeant Lewis. We're most anxious to get in touch with you. Could you call me as soon as possible, please? Chief Inspector Morse or Sergeant Lewis on Oxford 202566. Thanks.
I hate answer machines.
Because you know all the answers.
That's Very clever, Lewis. Trace the number, have someone go around.
Right.
Some of these... What do you think? Is she on the game?
Could just be a model. Her and Dr. McClure, they could be father and daughter.
Of course, even if you're on the game, you must have time off. There's a wonderful story by de Maupassant about that. All the girls...
This background here, these railings, aren't they one of the colleges?
They are indeed. McClure's college, no less.
Well, well, good for Felix. No, I never met her. He never brought her into hall. Well, you can see why.
And what about the young men?
Well, the one in the middle, now, that's Matthew Rodway, the boy who...
Thank you. The other one?
That's the man he shared with his first year, Ashley Davis. Yes. Not a very good influence, I'm afraid.
Oh?
Well, nice enough when sober, but as you can see from that, quite a hefty fellow. Yes, he was a South African, brilliant front row forward. Might have got his blue, only he had a terrible problem with his temper. He was always fighting on the pitch.
How did he get on with McClure?
It was Felix who got him rusticated.
Fighting off the pitch?
Yes, yes, indeed, with Rodway.
Over this girl?
That I can't tell, but Rodway was in hospital for 4 days.
Was he rusticated too?
No, no. His was a first offence, whereas Davis, Davis had 2 previous warnings. As a matter of fact, he was damn lucky not to be sent down altogether.
Why wasn't he?
Well, his father's, well, rather well off, you know, raced horses, that sort of thing. Anyway, we were rather disappointed when Davis decided not to come back. We were hoping Davis Senior might...
Economic considerations seem to play an inordinate part in this college's thinking, sir. But if you keep such close tabs on the rich, perhaps you can tell me where I might find this Ashley Davis now.
Kevin, come in. I was just marking your, I won't dignify it with the word essay, your piece, shall we say, on Macbeth. There are definite signs of improvement in your appreciation.
Thanks.
But your handwriting remains criminal.
If you ask me round just to be sarcastic, then I'll go.
No, I'm sorry. I haven't been very well. It's making me old and grouchy before my time.
You're not old. You look great. So, what's his job then?
I thought payment in 2 parts. Once before, once after.
What do you want me to do?
This Kay we've been phoning, it's not Kay Brooks after all. The Chelsea police went round. The flat's owned by a Miss Kay Bach.
As in Johann Sebastian?
B-A-C-H.
Then it is Brooks' daughter. And she's a girl of some education. Bach, Lewis, is the German for Brook.
Right.
Pretty expensive block, they say. There's escort girls living there.
How many of them speak German, though? And where is she?
Off providing services to the European community, I dare say.
How's your geography, Lewis?
Pretty good.
You know where Seven Barrows is? Important Bronze Age burial site on the Lambourne Downs, where you are going to escort yourself at dawn tomorrow to talk to Ashley Davis.
Dawn.
This is Davis, friend of Kay Brooks, also friend and/or enemy of Matthew Rodway, who is this one.
Right.
They both lived on the same staircase as McClure, and they had a fight, possibly over this girl.
And her dad was cleaning for all 3 of them. Can't be coincidence, can it?
I don't know. What I do know is that Ashley Davis's father is outstandingly rich, lives at Blueberry, keeps his racehorses at Seven Barrows. Young Ashley's keeping his eye on the bloodstock while the old man's away. You could go and see him tonight, but he won't be home till after midnight. And I don't want any complaints about unsocial hours from Mrs. Lewis.
Mrs. Lewis doesn't think Dawn's very social. Nor do I.
Left hand down. Left hand.
Oh, I hate cars.
Here, let me do it.
You haven't got a license.
Go on. Go on.
Where on earth did you learn to do that?
Detention centre. What'd you think?
Oh, Kevin. Can you put that carpet in the back of the car for me?
Pleasure.
None of that. Second payment's not due till after.
Very nice. We've been assuming that Brooks did it, haven't we? Well, let's look at it another way round. Let's suppose he didn't. Let's suppose that Ashley Davis killed Felix McClure.
Why should he?
One girl, two young men. It's not too hard to imagine they were both in love with her, is it?
No, but...
Davis nearly kills Rodway once, goes back during his rustication and finishes the job, filling him up with drugs and shoving him out of the window.
Well, nobody's ever suggested that Rodway was murdered, have they?
Davis gets rid of one rival, only to find that he's got another, more powerful one. An older man, a man of maturity, wisdom.
Chief Inspector?
You watch your lip. Oh, we men of experience. Oh. Perhaps McClure knew about the murder. Well, suspected it anyway. Hushed it up like he hushed up the drugs for the sake of the college. And, what about this, listen? McClure takes a fancy to Davis's girlfriend. Told her if she wouldn't go to bed with him, he would call the police. So Davis killed him too.
Chief Super won't be very pleased. We had one murder, now we've got two.
He'll be delighted if we clear them both up. You needn't really make it, Dawn. Catch him coming off the gallops. See if you can't pick up a few tips while you're there.
Never knew you were interested in horses.
I mean, look at the size of Davis's boots.
Come on, Ellen! Good. Yes, yes, yes!
791658.
Oh, come on.
Hello. Yes, just about to give him his tea.
Come on, what's the matter with you? Hit him, don't dance with him.
All right. Bye.
Yes, that's... Good one.
Where's your sense of humor?
Just get out now. We're going home. Get out! Move!
Morse.
Yeah. Yes. What's the number? Miss Brooks? Miss Kay Brooks? Chief Inspector Morse.
Give him another couple of weeks, and if it doesn't rain and the going gets even firmer, we'll run him at Kempton. See how he goes.
My father was talking about the run out at Folkestone next weekend.
No, he's not ready. Who the hell are you?
Mr. Davies. Mr. Ashley Davies.
Matthew Rodway was the best friend I ever had. I mean it. When he died, it was like losing... I was in South Africa when I heard. Of course, I flew back for the funeral. Read the lesson. Tried to.
You say he was your best friend, but you nearly killed him. Was that anything to do with Miss Kay Brooks? Perhaps you know her as Kay Back.
She'll be Kay Davies soon. We're going to be married.
I understood she was working as a professional escort.
So?
That doesn't bother you? No. Did you meet her professionally? No, I did not. If you want to know, she turned up to a rugby dinner with an 80-year-old fly half who couldn't do it anymore. If he ever could.
After a couple of hours, she slipped her arm through mine, asked me to take her home, which I did. When Kay calls...
And you introduced her to Matthew Rodway and
Kay, she doesn't like to feel, you know, restricted. That is, she didn't. Now we're engaged, of course. Look. I was terribly in love with her. Still am. When I saw her with Matthew. When you meet her, Sergeant, you'll understand.
Miss Kay Brooks. Chief Inspector Morse.
Hello.
Sie sind nicht Kay Back heute.
You are a detective.
Was that Dr. McClure's idea, the translation?
Do you mind? I have 8 GCSEs. Is this okay? I didn't know what to wear. I've never been to a police station before.
It's, I'm sure it would be very elegant anywhere. And we don't have to go to the station, not unless you want to. Not at this stage, anyway. It's a lovely morning. We have the whole Thames Valley.
Felix used to take me to a pub in Marsden.
I haven't been there for years.
Miss Brooks and Dr. McClure, how did they meet?
Well, Matthew and I... Well, the furniture was crashing around a bit. Felix came up to see what was going on. And there Kay was. Starkers, actually. Once he called the ambulance, he didn't want a scandal, so he got her out of the college without... And I suppose things sort of developed from there.
Into what?
Nothing. He was just sort of paternal with her.
You sure about that? Sure you didn't catch her with him, too?
He was a lovely man, Felix. He said it doesn't matter what you do as long as you're true to yourself.
And are you? You have 8 O-levels. Providing an escort service isn't exactly fulfilling your potential.
You have to be very adroit to do what I do. And keep smiling. And make them feel they're privileged to pay you. I've saved quite a bit. I was thinking of putting it into a travel agency. Do you think I should?
I've never been rich enough to have investments.
Felix thought it was a good idea.
You talked about everything then.
Oh, yes. Felix well, this last year, Felix and I... He had no kids of his own, and he'd half retired from the college. We were really good friends.
A purely intellectual relationship?
A very close, very warm, loving relationship. Sex would have ruined it.
It wouldn't for most men.
Yes. But knowing Felix was the best thing that ever happened to me. After I'd been with him, I'd go and meet Mum at Brown's or somewhere, have a chat. It was like my day off. Find him. Whoever did it, you must find him.
We've been wondering about Ashley Davis.
Ashley?
Where were you last Sunday morning, sir?
Up here, riding out.
So what time did you go home to Blueberry?
9-ish. Kay's staying while my parents are away, and...
So Miss Brooks can vouch that you were home by 9:30, sir?
Actually, she likes to sleep in weekends. There's no staff there then, so I took up her breakfast about 11.
Do you have any witnesses, sir, as to where you were between 9 and 11?
No. No, I suppose I don't.
Between 9 and 11 was when Dr. McClure was killed. Lambourne to Oxford, Oxford to Blueberry. Do that in under 2 hours, easy. You sure you've got no witnesses, sir?
No, but...
Thank you, sir. Oh, one other thing. What size shoes do you wear, sir? 10s, would it be?
Your parents seem very well off. Do you give them money?
Look, Inspector.
Morse. People just call me Morse.
All right, Morse. My mother is my mother, and I love her very much. But my father, my real father, he died when I was 3. Ted Brooks is my stepfather, and I don't like him at all. He couldn't bear it that I wasn't his. When I got a few GCSEs, well, he never got anything, of course. He did that, knocking me against a cooker.
I didn't know.
He used to be a boxer. He knows how to hurt. He hits Mum. You do realize that.
PC Martin at St Mary's. I think I found that green bike we've been looking for.
Ashley's been begging me to marry him for months. In fact, almost the last thing Felix said to me was, take him. So I'm going to. But... I don't know. What do you think?
Do you love him?
I like him. I like him very much. Felix said that was enough. Better, really, than strong romantic feeling. Romance doesn't last, he said. But do you think that's right?
I'm afraid I don't know very much about marriage. It seems to me as if you love Dr. McClure more than Davis.
I don't think I can love, not like other people.
Oh, I'm sure...
Ashley liked Felix. He would never even contemplate...
Where was he Sunday morning?
Riding up on the downs. When he came back, he tiptoed around the place so as not to wake me. He's very sweet like that. But listen, if I thought he'd killed Felix, I'd kill him myself. I would.
Then you did love Dr. McClure best.
Perhaps.
How long do we reckon it's been here?
There's something on it, look.
Blood?
It could be.
Get it down the lab, quick as you can. See what blood group it is. Hey, Sergeant Lewis, anybody know where Morse is?
Kevin,
Yes, Mrs. Stevens?
you weren't in class this morning. Why was that?
Overslept.
I didn't sleep at all, but I'm here. You've got your homework for this afternoon?
Yes, miss. Thank you, miss.
Don't let me down, Kevin.
Never.
Oh, negative. Thank you very much. We found the bike, sir. It's got blood stains. Same group as Dr. McClure.
Well done, Lewis. Where was it?
Right in the middle of town. Radcliffe Square.
It's a funny place to leave a blood-stained bike.
Unless maybe he was biking home, started feeling ill, decided to dump the bike, come back for it later. Where have you been?
Interviewing Kay Brooks.
Where'd you find her?
She found me.
And?
I shall be continuing my inquiries in due course.
Davies wears size 10s, and you can tell he's got a temper, but cold-blooded murder, I don't know.
It was a cold-blooded killing. Whoever did it went armed with a knife.
No one in this case has got a provable alibi, have they? Ashley Davies and Kate Brooks, Ted and Brenda Brooks, they only confirm each other. Suppose they were all in it together.
What?
Well, Davies is rich. Suppose he supplied the capital for Brooks's drugs operation, and suppose Dr. McClure found that Brooks was still supplying students and threatened to report him. And, yeah, so Davies and Brooks went round there to have it out with him, and they had a row.
What was Kay Brooks doing?
Well, she was driving the vehicle with Ashley Davies in it, while Brooks biked off back down to Cowley.
And Mrs. Brooks? What was she doing? Making cakes for them all when they came home?
Thanks a lot.
No. I am glad your enthusiasm is returning, Lewis, but let's at least try and keep it within bounds. I think we're ready to bring Brooks in. Question him away from home. Break him down a bit. See how he likes a bit of bullying. I hate men who beat up women.
Come on, hurry up. Stop larking about there, come on. Ah, there you are. I was afraid something had happened. Everything all right?
Fine, thanks, Mrs. Stevens.
All aboard, then.
You better have a doctor present. We don't want him having another heart attack in police custody. Mind you, if he ups and dies, it'll save us the expense of a trial.
Oh, and in these hard-pressed times...
Oh, it's all very well for you to sneer, but you don't know what it's like sitting here forced to implement cuts. I mean, solving crimes, that's the easy part.
Of course, we haven't solved this one yet, sir, but I must say, Lewis has worked particularly hard on it. He's been very imaginative.
Lewis? Imaginative?
It comes of his long years working with me. Something's bound to rub off in the end.
It's a bit early for patting ourselves on the back, Morse. If you have the imagination to solve this case in double-quick time, then I may give consideration.
Thank you, sir.
If, Morse, if.
Don't worry about if, sir. With Lewis on the ball the way he is.
If you don't stop going on about Lewis, you're going to give me a heart attack.
Perhaps you'd like to sit in on the questioning, sir. See how well Lewis...
Morse, go.
5 minutes. Closing in 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Closing in 5 minutes.
Mrs. Brooks is off in Stratford, isn't she?
And I expect he's down his club. Damn. Do we know which club?
Soon find out.
We'll leave it till tomorrow. Make an early start.
I made an early start today.
Shh, please. Some of us are trying to sleep.
Macbeth does murder sleep.
Put your seatbelt on, look.
Mr. Brooks? Mr. Edward Brooks? Mr. Brooks? Mr. Humphreys?
The time has been. My senses would have called. To here on Night Street. And my fell of hair. What's a fell of hair, Mrs. Stevens? What? A fell of hair. Mrs. Stevens?
Brooks. Edward Brooks. Hang on. Mrs. Brooks? How old is he, Mrs. Brooks?
Oh, 53 last March.
53. 5'9", greying hair.
When did you last see your husband, Mrs. Brooks?
Yesterday afternoon, when I went off to catch the bus. 3:30 it must have been. He was sitting here.
So where did you spend last night?
Well, whenever I go to Stratford with Mrs. Stevens, I stay over at her place.
It's rather unusual, isn't it? A cleaner spending the night at her employer's?
Well, Ted doesn't like to be disturbed, you see, with me coming in late. Oh, and it was late. Macbeth's a long play, awfully long.
It's one of the shortest plays Shakespeare wrote.
Well, it seemed long to me. I dropped off once or twice. Mrs. Stevens had to nudge me.
This Mrs. Stevens, do you work for anyone else?
Not anymore. I used to, but...
Your husband makes enough on the side these days without you having to? So what makes you keep on working for this one woman?
She's been very good to me. And she's not well. Not well at all. But she wants to keep on working while she can, you see. And, well, she asked me and...
Where does she live?
Not very far. Temple Avenue. I'm sorry. I can't think where Ted's got to.
There's no report of any accident. No one admitted to hospital.
There you are, Mrs. Brooks. He probably went to his club.
I've tried there twice already.
That woman is too cool. It's like she's got it all rehearsed.
She was crying.
Not behind the eyes.
Sergeant Lewis. All right. Yeah, thanks. Miss Cotterill up at the museum, sir? Thought you ought to know. Knife gone missing from one of our exhibition cases since last night.
Well, that's no use to us. McClaw was killed last Sunday. Better check it out, though. And get someone up here to keep an eye out for Brooks. I'm going to have a word with this Mrs. Stevens. A schoolmistress should talk sense.
None of mine ever did.
Away you go, then. And don't forget to bring it back in one piece.
cleaners found it like this at 8 o'clock this morning. Everything was locked, shuttered, barred at 4:30 yesterday evening, as usual. The guard made his final round at 4:15 or so, which means that...
Did he see anyone suspicious?
No, but then the lights are kept low to preserve the artifacts.
And it's just the one knife that's missing?
Yes. Barotzi. Northern Rhodesia. Zambia, that is. I must change these labels. Given in 1919 to Bishop May by Zita III, paramount chief and son of Lewanika.
Paramount chief. My boss would like that. Who would want a single object like this, Miss Cottrell?
Well, it's not a particularly interesting knife as such. Wouldn't fetch much on the open market. Its value is really only anthropological.
Very broad blade. How sharp would this be?
Not very. It was for ceremony, not use. No one sharpened it for 75 years.
Could a member of your staff have taken it?
Anyone with access to the key cupboard, yes, but why draw attention to the theft by breaking open the case when all you have to do is fetch the key?
Could someone have hidden himself in here all night?
Yes, I suppose it's possible, but the slightest movement... Oh, it's quite spooky. This, you know, is the fabled land where myths go when they die.
James Fenton. My daughter's doing her A-levels.
Thanks. Thanks a lot. Aren't you having one?
Oh, I've got 20 essays on Macbeth to mark. And I'm sorry to say I fainted in class this morning. Most unlike me. They sent me home or you wouldn't have found me in.
Go on, do you good. And I shall feel lonely.
Well, all right then.
Mrs. Brooks spent the night here, I understand. Have you spoken to her since she went home?
No. Why?
Mr. Brooks has disappeared.
Jolly good. Here's hoping he doesn't come back. Brenda said you'd questioned him about Dr. McClure. And I know what Kay's been through.
You know Kay, then?
Kay? No, why?
You said you knew what she'd been through.
Oh, I'm sorry, I meant Brenda. It's... I have this little problem in here. Quite a big one, actually. A physical, not mental. I mean to say one thing and something quite different pops out. Can be quite embarrassing. As a matter of fact, I've never met Kay Brooks.
Oh. Because?
Yes, of course. Brenda told me. Ted used to bash Kay about, too. Brenda's told me everything. The number of times I've had her in here, weeping and showing her bruises like it was St. Crispin's Day.
She seems very distressed about him disappearing.
Oh, she's infuriatingly old-fashioned, Brenda. She believes a wife should stick by her husband come what may, even when the husband makes her life complete misery.
When Mrs. Brooks got back last night, she didn't try to contact her husband at all? See how he was?
Good God, no. He gets drunk every night and very belligerent with it.
So really, you can't throw any light on...
I can give you chapter and verse about his violence, which dear loyal Brenda never will.
Some other time, perhaps. Tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day.
Hey, oh, where's Morse?
Out with a woman, sir.
What?
Interviewing a schoolmistress, sir.
Oh. A bit of skirt to do Morse good, as a matter of fact, if it's not too late. About your promotion, Lewis, I'm very sorry, but the way things are at present, it's just not...
Deputy Chief Constable on the phone.
All right. Another rocket about next quarter's estimated overspend. To tell you the truth, Lewis, I'm thinking of investing my entire budget in the lottery. It's the only way we'll ever make both ends meet. Ah, Morse. Oh, never mind. What does he want?
A holiday.
Has Brooks turned up yet?
No, sir. This knife that was stolen, it's very funny. It exactly fits the description of the one that must have killed Dr. McClure. I mean, I know McClure was killed last Sunday, and the knife wasn't even taken till last night, but...
Is this a dagger that I see before me? I'd rather see a pint.
Sergeant Lewis. What?
Chief Superintendent Strange isn't going to be pleased. It's definitely not a suicide. Ah, Morse. All this rapping. You'd think he was a mummy. Thames Valley, late 20th century, Elizabeth II dynasty. Now, don't say I don't do everything I can to help you. You look for someone. It's your chief suspect.
They're abolishing chiefs.
Sir?
Oh, dear. Don't say I've upset him.
Excuse me. Do you work here?
I'm the waterman, yes.
Ah, right. Good. A body washed up here, where do you reckon it would have gone in?
Bodies don't move much, except in floodwater, and we haven't had that since March. He won't have come far. Somewhere up above the bridge, I reckon.
Right, thank you.
Perhaps he wasn't paying his supplier. Or someone didn't like the drugs he sold.
Or someone didn't like the fact that he killed Dr. McClure. Who's so fond of McClure?
Kay Brooks. But you couldn't possibly haul him into the water up there. It must be 60, 70 yards from the road.
Hell hath no fury.
Your store of old sayings is sadly meagre, Lewis.
Perhaps he was in the boot of a car. She just backed it down the water's edge and just rolled him into the river.
She'd have to get him into the car first.
And then she had an accomplice. Her fiancé.
A man could have done it on his own. Do you know what I'd do if I had a corpse in the boot of my car? I would stop right here and chuck it over the parapet.
Make a bit of a splash, wouldn't it?
Who'd be listening?
Busy road.
Yes, it is now, but 3 in the morning.
Looks like they want us.
To watch this Morse if you don't want to. Sergeant Lewis and I can manage on our own.
Why don't you just get on with it?
Ready? Steady. Go.
Good heavens. This really is a museum piece. There's even a label.
Rotsi, Northern Rhodesia, given in 1919 to Bishop May by Zeta III, Paramount Chief, and...
That's the knife was stolen from the museum yesterday afternoon.
Really? Because it looks extraordinarily like the sort of weapon which killed Felix McClure.
But that's... It can't be. It's very broad looking, quite blunt.
If that knife was in the pit rivers till yesterday afternoon, it cannot have killed Dr. McClure last Sunday. It is a logical impossibility.
Or is it?
Julia. Her mind lay open like a drawer of knives.
Philip Larkin, Deceptions.
We were most deceived.
What's this lined with, Miss Cottrell?
It's a new Wonder Hessian. Supposed never to fade.
So these knives leave no shadow?
If you take one out and move the others up a bit, there's no sign anything is missing.
No.
Ted Brooks was cleverer than we imagined. He realized with his access to the key, he could open the case, take out a knife, move the others up a bit, and no one would know.
Not immediately, no.
But if he took it on Saturday afternoon and put it back on Monday morning when he returned to work, which is what he meant to do...
He'd be very unlucky to get caught.
And he was unlucky. He had a heart attack. Come Monday morning, he was in hospital, a very worried man, because he couldn't just chuck the knife away. Wouldn't be long before it was missed. And then he'd be questioned, obviously.
But why the break-in? If the knife had already been taken? What was taken then?
Nothing. Obviously.
Why?
Must be somebody wanted us to think that wasn't the knife used on Dr. McClure.
Who would that be then, and why?
You said the knife was ceremonial, Miss Cottrell, not for use. It's been used to kill 2 men in the last 5 days.
The trustees aren't going to like this one bit. We will get the knife back.
After the trial.
Whose trial?
The trial of the daughters of Cain. Come on, Lewis, what was the first murder in the Bible? Cain killing his brother Abel, over whose sacrifice was more acceptable to the Lord.
How many daughters did he have?
I don't know. But Ted Brooks's death was very acceptable to the women who knew him. His wife, his stepdaughter, Julia Stevens.
Where does she fit in?
Brenda Brooks knew where the knife was, but she'd never have thought of using it. And Kay? No. Oh, Julia Stevens must have been the brains behind it.
Why the theft that never was?
Where were they all at the time, Lewis?
Mrs. Brooks and Mrs. Stevens were halfway to Stratford, so it must have been Miss Brooks.
No, I saw her getting on the train to Birmingham at 2:18. They've all got their alibis.
Miss Brooks could have got off the train at the next stop and come back.
We'll check her out.
We've done the CT, computerized tomography, and there doesn't seem to be any major brain damage, but it's not good. Brains can be funny things.
Yes, indeed.
Not that he seems to have much of a brain at all, to judge by his record.
Oh, he has a brain. And a heart. If anyone would give him a chance. Hello, Kevin? What were you doing in that car?
Celebrating.
Celebrating what?
You. Don't have to pretend, Mrs. Brooks. I know all about your husband, how he treated you.
He was my Ted. 23 years we'd been together. 23 years.
But he was a murderer. He killed Dr. McClure, didn't he?
Dr. McClure found out that...
That your husband was still supplying drugs to undergraduates so that you could have a new kitchen.
Well, the kitchen did need doing. You should have seen
Still
it.
supplying drugs, though he'd previously been warned. So Dr. McClure said he'd report him to the police.
He didn't tell me nothing about what he was going to do. Just went off on his bike after breakfast. When he came back in a taxi, you could have... He was ever so grey. He'd started getting these pains in his chest, you see. So he left the bike. He didn't want to take his hands out of his pockets. Not while the taxi was there. Because of the blood. There was ever so much blood. So he pretended he didn't have any money, and he sent me out to pay the taxi off. When he took his mac off.
What did you do with the clothes?
Took them to the incinerator on the way to visit him in the hospital.
Was that your idea, or his?
Of course you can look at it. You can have it if you like. Bloody thing's always going wrong. I was going to change it, but my coordination since I started being ill, I can't even get it in the garage anymore, let alone out again.
What about the knife? What did you do with that?
What knife?
The knife Mr. Brooks used to kill Dr. McClure.
I don't know anything about it.
What did he say he did with it?
Nothing. And I didn't ask.
Someone used that knife again to kill your husband.
Did they? How was that, then?
Come on. Are you seriously saying you don't know who killed your husband?
Of course I don't.
When did you last have the car out, madam?
Wednesday.
So who put it away that time?
Kay.
Kay Brooks.
What?
You said Kay put the car away.
I'm sorry, I'm always doing that. It's, this damned, When I was collecting the tickets at Stratford the other night, I gave my name as William Shakespeare.
Who did put the car away last Wednesday, madam?
One of my pupils. They all drive like Damon Hill from the third form on. Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. I keep having these turns. It's...
Which one of your pupils, madam?
What?
Which of your pupils put the car away?
Oh, I can't... I'm sorry, my sight, there's something... It's a tumour, it presses on the optic nerve.
Mrs. Stevens! Mrs. Stevens!
Morse, I want to speak to Chief Inspector.
Call an ambulance! Quick!
You realise I could charge you with being an accessory after the fact of Dr. McClure's murder?
A wife's got to stand by her husband.
Oh, yes. Even when he beats her.
If I hadn't, he might have killed me.
Who told you to say that? Mrs. Stevens?
No.
And did you stand by while your husband was being murdered? Or did you stab him yourself?
Me kill Ted?
Come on, Mrs.
I never saw Ted from the moment that I walked out that door to catch the bus to Stratford. He was sitting there, watching telly.
Yeah, same carpet the body was wrapped in, no question.
I'll get on to Morse right away.
Hello, Mrs. Stevens.
Fire burn and cauldron bubble. But she can't produce the words she wants. It's part of the illness.
Can't she understand what's said to her?
I don't know. Doubtful.
Mrs. Stevens, lie quietly now. Fillet of a fenny snake in the cauldron, boil and bake.
Lie still now, then speak slowly, quietly.
Eye of Newton-toe frog.
Mrs. Stevens, I know there's something you want to tell me. Is it about the death of Ted Brooks? Did his wife, Brenda, kill him?
The out, damn spot out, I say.
Was it his stepdaughter, Kay?
Here's the smell of blood still, all the perfumes of Arabia.
Mrs. Stevens, very steady now. Did you kill Ted Brooks?
He will have blood, they say. Blood will have blood.
Hairbrush. Lipstick. Mirror. What's this?
Oh, it's a letter for Chief Inspector Morse from Mrs. Stevens to be opened in the event of her death.
Do you want him to have it now?
Well, she's very bad, but she did say in the event.
Suppose I give it to him. He can open it if and when.
Oh, it's when, not if. Can I keep my ashes?
Well, it's rubbish. Complete rubbish.
Most of it's quite true. All the detail.
So she came back from an evening of Shakespeare, tucked a cleaning lady up in bed, then went out and knifed the cleaning lady's husband, wrapped him in carpet and black plastic bags, put him in a car.
I said quite true, Lewis. All three of them were there, and they killed him before they went to Stratford. And that was the point of the phony theft from the museum, to mislead us as to the time. Because if a murder weapon is known to be locked away till a certain time, on a certain day...
Then the murder can't possibly have taken place before then. Stands to reason. But in this case...
Exactly.
So when did they kill him?
Wednesday night, Thursday morning, when not one of them has an alibi worth tuppence. Must have been Julia Stevens did the actual knifing. That's why she kept on and on about blood.
But Kay was there to drive the car.
And help with the body. Brenda would have been no use humping her husband about with that injured arm. But can we get either of them to admit it? And there's still Davies. He hasn't got a story for early Thursday.
Well, none of them have. Except the one we can't question.
Wednesday? Why Wednesday?
Because Wednesday night, or Thursday morning, is when Ted Brooks was killed.
But I thought...
Where were you?
I was here all day with the housekeeper. Ashley's parents had given us some of their glass and linen as part of the wedding present. They have foreign...
And the evening?
Ashley and I went up to a rugby dinner in London. Ashley got paralytic. He always does. So I took him home to my flat in Chelsea.
What time was that?
About midnight.
And then?
Then we went to bed. The next thing I knew was the alarm going off at 5 so that Ashley could get up to go to the gallops.
How well do you know Julia Stevens, miss?
Never met her.
You sure?
Yes.
Because she told me that you'd put her car in the garage for her last Wednesday. She said you had to do it because she was too ill to do it herself.
What can I say? I've never even seen Mrs. Stevens or her car.
We know the car was used to take your stepfather's body to the river.
If you say so.
You were driving it, weren't you?
Sorry, I don't know where this mad idea comes from.
Any objection to giving us your fingerprints?
None whatever. Look, if you got this from Mrs. Stevens, well, Mum said she's been saying a lot of funny things this last week or two. Getting words wrong, people mixed up.
Thursday. What were you doing Thursday after you met me?
Went to Birmingham, like I told you.
What were you doing there?
Seeing a client.
I thought you'd given up all that.
I was saying goodbye to him.
What's his name?
I'd really rather not say. But if you want proof, I went to Birmingham. There was this man, tried to pick me up in the buffet car. He'll remember me.
Thanks. We'll give him a call. Meanwhile, if you wouldn't mind coming to the station with us.
Is this all right? Or should I change? Darling, we're going down the police station. Coming?
What for? I thought I'd answered all your questions.
I was at the office all day. At least 20 people can confirm that. There were 75 people at the dinner.
Can you give me the name of someone at the club, sir? Someone to confirm that?
Reese Martin Davies. He's the secretary. The number's 0181 693 5019.
And afterwards, you went directly to Chelsea. You didn't go Oxford.
Oxford?
Mrs. Stevens actually killed Ted Brooks, but it took more than one person to wrap up his body and manhandle it down to the river.
I wasn't capable of manhandling a miniature poodle that night. Honestly, when I get plastered.
Perhaps Miss Brooks left you unconscious in the car while she...
Look, I went to bed in Chelsea. I woke up in Chelsea. Kay brought me in a pot of coffee at 5:15.
How was she dressed?
She wasn't.
Fresh and clean from the bath, was she? At 5:15 in the morning?
We don't wear pajamas. Either of us.
No one under 40 wears a nightdress. No one I know. I was practicing to be a good wife, getting my man off to work. But as soon as he was out of the flat, I'm afraid I went straight back to bed.
Oh, what's it?
Excuse me.
My pleasure.
He was plastered, pushing people in the swimming pool. We were glad she took him home. He's a bloody menace when he gets drunk. Falls about, shouts.
Then she wouldn't have wanted him with her. It was just the women, Lewis. Let him go. You hated Ted Brooks. You admit that?
with all my heart and soul.
Then why, when you knew he'd killed a man you liked, loved even, why didn't you go to the police? He'd have got life. Your mum and you would have been rid of him for years.
Not without a trial. I'd have had to give evidence. Imagine the headlines. Kay bonked as Ted bashed. Now, Ashley's family would have loved it. They made him leave Oxford, they'd have made him leave me, sent him to the Philippines or wherever for 5 years.
So you were prepared to let a murderer go free?
I wanted to start again. To live as though the past had simply never happened.
People can't do that.
So it seems. So, are you going to charge me with failing to report a murder?
Why only one? I'll be back later.
I know you people are used to getting people to confess to things they didn't do. But I won't. Never.
Kay can't have it both ways. If what Mrs. Stevens wrote in her letter was true, then so was what she said to me.
But you had no witness she said it. She hadn't even been cautioned. No, it'll never stand up in court, Lewis.
Well, you can hold her for accessory after the fact of McClure's murder.
Only if we charge Brenda Brooks, too.
Well, why not?
The CPS would never look at it. Her solicitor would get Helena Kennedy or another of those women lawyers to defend her. She'd say that she lived in terror of her husband and show her scars. No jury would convict her in 1,000,000 years. And then one of the tabloids would offer her several £1,000s for her story.
Pack of lies, you mean?
It would not be a good use of public money, Lewis.
Well, what about the knife? The business at the museum?
We know it couldn't have been Kay or Brenda Brooks.
Well, then there must have been an accomplice. Let's start making inquiries.
I will talk to the super, but I am very much afraid, Lewis, this case is closed.
What?
We know Brooks killed McClure, and we have Mrs. Stevens' confession that she killed Brooks.
But the other two?
We have no evidence, Lewis.
We can question them again in the morning.
All right. Yes, they can spend one night in the cells. It's more than most criminals.
What's this? Are you losing your grip or what?
I think Mrs. Stevens was a very clever woman. Cleverer than we are. And cleverest of all, by being dead.
Go on, give her a kiss. Give her a kiss for the camera. This way. Miss Brooks, has your mother been released yet?
Looking for anyone further in the case of Dr. McClure, and the person who killed Ted Brooks has since died, so...
So, no trial. No trial. No publicity. So the appeal can go on as though... You know what? We'll make it a memorial appeal for Felix. The old members will stump up even more.
I appreciate your concern for justice, Lewis. I appreciate it very much. I mean, justice is fundamentally what our work's all about. And, of course, we could pursue our inquiries. We always can, almost ad infinitum.
That's the accomplice at the museum, sir?
But as you know, resources are extremely strained at the moment. And there really doesn't seem to be any point in expending further time and money on these two cases.
But the murderers are still walking about out there.
I don't think so. Accomplices, possibly, but we'd never get a conviction.
But, sir, you can't just...
The decision to close the case was taken at the highest level, Lewis, where reports of your work on it have been most favourably received. I mean, 2 murders cleared up at minimal expense, no costly trial. I mean, who knows? The powers that be might well feel able to unfreeze a promotion. Inspectors will be as good as chief inspectors soon, so it'll be as good as a double promotion.
I don't think it's right, sir.
You think it over. We need decent people like you in the force, building their careers, going on to higher things. People who understand the real values of police work.
I'm not sure I want to stay, sir. Not when things like this happen.
Lewis.
Sir?
Think about it. And ask Morse to come and see me, would you?
He's at the funeral.
Off to celebrate, Robbie? Off bloody home.